CFO Remy Welschinger, who you all know, and our COO Vasily Karelas, who equally I think you all know. The reason for the update today is really to update you on a variety of things, principally where we are with our drilling. Secondly, a lot of questions naturally on our exclusivity agreement with Anglo American. And then thirdly, very excitingly, we've got new news and developments on our little plant at Chiesa East. So really, and then we'll open up to questions. We've had a host of questions coming in. I might add that we have had to vet some of these questions. As you will understand, we are in exclusivity arrangements at the moment with Anglo American, and obviously there are certain questions around this that we simply are unable to answer given the sensitivity of our discussions currently, and I'll come back to that. So turning firstly to the drilling, as you know, we continue to have extremely exciting results over the past year, principally at Fuji and Muswema. As you know, we're for the first time really we've hit some significant sulfides, and that is extremely exciting and gives us a hint of where some of these fluids and some of the hosts of these oxides may be located. And we are currently doing further work on this in preparation when we restart our drilling post the rainy season. We've done a total of 3,000 meters to date at Fuji and Muswema, and I think you've seen the results that we've published. And as I say, when the rainy season comes to an end, hopefully soon in the next quarter or so, we are going to be drilling deeper holes, and Vasily will touch on that later, and hopefully unaffected by COVID. As you know, we were affected by that principally in some of the assays that were delayed. Turning to Anglo American, we are very satisfied with all our interactions with Anglo to date. We have been in almost daily contact on technical as well as legal DD. This is a very extensive exercise. At Cadastre, just the report on Zamsort alone amounts to circa 400 odd pages. There's technical, legal, environmental, so a huge raft of DD that we are plowing through, and to date all of it is extremely satisfactory, both for Zamsort and for Zako. Now, as you know, we have in the past and more recently been approached by other majors as well as a big Chinese player. Now, clearly we have had to inform them that we are in an exclusivity arrangement with Anglo American, but I think this again underscores just how exciting the asset we have is to others, and really underpins that we are at a very exciting crossroads for the company. Now, many of you have asked, what will the deal look like? And I'm not going to be drawn into any such detail, but suffice to say is that any deal that we do will have to generate significant value from where we sit today. So I hope that gives you an intimation of where we're sitting and what we're expecting, and I fully expect to maximize value for our shareholders going forward. It's an extremely exciting time, as I said before. Now, turning to the plant, following extensive work at Chiesa East, as you know, this is some of the higher grade zones that we've been drilling out, and I'm pleased to report today that we will be fast tracking a scoping study, which we expect to complete within the next quarter. So we then envisage construction of this plant. It's very likely to be funded through an offtake agreement, and I'll ask Remy to cover that in a second, and going into production as we go into 2022. So this, in my mind, is a very major game changer for ARC. So we're looking at a circa sort of $50 million per annum revenue generating asset with very attractive free cash flows to us. It naturally gives us significant opportunity and strengthens our hand at this critical time for ARC. So this is a fantastic development for us. We've done significant work here, analytical work, including chemical and mineralogical work. the gravity test work. We've done washing and tables and spirals and jigs. We've been working all that. On froth flotation, on sulfuric acid leaching. We've also done magnetic separation work, and Vasily will update us on all that. So this has been a series of really very detailed analytical tests and work that we've undertaken in Zambia. And I must say, I'm very pleased with the progress we've made. And this, as I say, will, I think, be a game changer for ARC, because being essentially fully funded through to 2022, this does enable us then, provided obviously things go well and we're successful in executing our plans for this plant, to generate quite significant revenues for ourselves. So as I say, it gives us significant optionality, particularly at this critical crossroads for ARC. At this juncture, I'm going to ask Vasily to really take us through some of the work that he and his team have done on the plant. And then following that, to ask Remy to take us through some of the financials for this plant. Vasily?
Hi, good day, everyone. Yes, starting off, when we started drilling at Chieza, we realized, we observed that the mineralization is actually hosted in quite a weathered unit of rock. The weathering profile goes all the way down to sort of 60 to 80 meters below surface. And what I mean by weathered, it's basically a soil and a clay. So from a mining perspective, you're looking at an ore that doesn't require any drilling and blasting. And in effect, it's just really an earth moving exercise. And following on that, in sort of December 2019, we started with the metallurgical test work program. The ore at Chieza is not a typical oxide ore, which is why we've had to go through a few extra processes to actually get better understanding of the ore type that we're looking at. And you know, so the mineralogical and the chemical work was to understand the composition of the ore, and then the fact that it's a soil and a clay, you know, enables us to do, you know, other things that normally you wouldn't be able to do if it was a rock type, and that's why we spent quite a lot of effort and time looking at the gravitational properties of the ore to see if we could upgrade that through a gravity process, and that work at the moment is looking positive. As well as then the other properties of the ore, whether it can be separated using its magnetic properties and whether froth flotation works and so forth. And in effect, we've had you know, so 3 batches of test work that's been done, with the first being obviously the chemical and mineralogical, and then we did a batch just to understand the gravity and flotation properties, and then the 3rd batch was just to focus on where we believe the optimum processing route, which would be gravity followed by leaching. So at the moment, we still got a little bit more work to do and just finishing off the test work. And so we've got 1 more batch of samples to do, and then that'll lead on to the scoping study, which, as Nick said, we anticipate completing in the next couple of months.
All right, thanks, Vasily. Remy, do you want to take us through? Remy's done extensive financial work with his team on this, given its impact on ARC. Remy, would you like to take us through that?
Thanks, Nick. Hi, everyone. So look, on specifically to the plant project at Chieza East, we are, as we alluded with the desktop study we've done and talked about in December, we're looking at a project that effectively generates about $45 to $50 million at current prices of revenues per year, which is a pretty big number relative to the size of the company. But more importantly, within that revenue numbers, we're looking at free cash flow of about $25 million per year, and that's a complete game changer for us. So that's what is most exciting about this project, is the economics, thanks to the type of ore and the flow sheet that we are looking at, as Vasily was explaining. The other important point as well is the capex we're looking at is likely to be between $5 and $10 million so far, in terms of the estimates we have gathered. And that we believe, and we've had discussions already with potential offtake partners, as well as other type of finance approach, we're strongly confident we can finance the entire capex at the local level, at the asset level, most likely with debt. And that's again very important, right? Because it means you don't have to really touch the topco and have any dilution effect on the topco company to still achieve the capex for this plant and then generate free cash flow in about a year's time from now. Just to have a word on the topco as well, as you know, we've raised £2 million in January. We've had some warrants and options being exercised over the last few months, and that puts us in a position where we're financed all the way to the end of 2022. And that's basically 2022 is the year where we plan on becoming cash flow positive from producing from Chiesa East. So we are in a very strong position financially, which comes at a great time with the discussion we're having at the moment.
Fantastic. Well, Remy, thank you very much. And lastly, from our side, before we take any questions, there were one or two questions on where we are with Casa. As you know, this is an asset we have sold. We are due certain payments coming up in March. We understand that there have been several third-party approaches to Golden Square, and any such approaches will require ARC's approval, given the agreements we have in place, both for royalties and then the near-term payments. You know, as and when we have an update on that, we will clearly update you as soon as we know. But suffice to say, you know, we think this will be to ARC's benefit if there are any amendments or changes to this transaction. But that's got a few weeks to run. So with that, very happy to take any questions. And over to the moderator to read out any questions that we might have.
Hi, Nick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So our first questions were on Casa, which you've just updated on. So moving on to the exploration program, several questions here. However, the first one's concentrate on the exploration program for next drilling season. And maybe Vasily could talk a little bit about that, if you could.
Thanks, Sergio. Yeah, so as Nick highlighted, we drilled 3,000 meters last year with some good intersections and some good indications of where we should be looking. We've defined an area or two areas really where we believe it's got the potential to host what we're looking for, and we've in the process now finalizing an airborne geophysical program. You know, we've flown the whole license area in 2018 or 19, but that was quite a broad spaced program to cover the whole license area. And based on the work that we've done now in 2019, 20 and 21, now following, we've got an area where we believe we need to be focusing on, and so we're looking to fly another sort of 5,700 line kilometers, but quite closely spaced. I mean, the previous program was 200 meter line spacing. We're looking at 50 meter line spacing, and that'll give us the sort of resolution we need over those areas to actually be able to use the data along with the soil geochemistry and the other information we're going to get from it in terms of the underlying structure to start pushing down some deeper holes in this area. I mean, the Chiesa target area, so although we focused on Chiesa East, the actual Chiesa target area is a target that's 10 by 10 kilometers if you look at the area as a whole. And so to actually, you know, make sure we get bang for our buck as to where we put the drill rig, you know, this is the sort of work that we will be doing first. And similarly, there's a 12-kilometer long feature that runs from one target area into another one, from Muswema through to Lumbeta, which we're calling the Lumbeta Muswema structure. And that there again, at Muswema, you know, we've picked up sulfide mineralization at depth, and that was blind mineralization from the drilling that we carried out. And it's a matter now of, you know, we're knowing that that structure carries sulfide mineralization, and it's, you know, now looking for where we can actually point the drill rig where we can find thicker concentrations of it. So definitely, you know, in terms of drilling meters and so forth is still being refined as we speak, but we certainly look to have sort of maybe 3-4 drill rigs out there this year on these target areas.
Okay, thank you, Vasily. Another question regarding the Zambian operations, and that's how close we are to completing the JORC estimate.
Okay. Like I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, the ore type at Chiesa is not a typical oxide ore. So we've actually had to basically start from scratch in terms of getting an understanding of what we're looking at, which is why we don't have a JORC resource yet, because the metallurgical properties will actually define the parameters, the cost parameters on the processing side. To put in to define the optimization, which will then define the resource. So once we've completed the metallurgical test work program, which we expect within the next month, we'll then be able to then run those numbers through the optimization process, which would then give us an indication of resource. So it's it's work in progress, but it's unfortunately there's not an industry standard numbers that one can use with the ore type that we're looking at Chiesa. So we have to come up with those numbers ourselves, which is why we're doing the test work.
Okay. Next question relating to the scoping study, which Nick introduced just a little while ago, and that's how close we are to completing that and the timing around this.
Yeah, so
I think we've answered that.
We've answered that. I mean, the completion of the test work will then lead on to the scoping study, and once we start the scoping study, it's a 2-month process.
Okay,
but I think it's worth adding that we are really putting our foot on the pedal for this, so we are fast tracking this, we're using this period of the rainy season to do really as much work as we possibly can. With a view to be in production next year.
Okay, thank you, Nick. And then we have some questions at more of a corporate level regarding conversations with Anglo. And the first question is how active the dialogue with Anglo American is.
Look, Sasha, thank you. I have updated on this at the outset, and of course I'm somewhat limited or very limited in terms of what I can say, other than they have been extensive and very detailed and very satisfactory to date. So that's really all I can say. The ball is of course in their court as to next steps, and we'll have to take it step by step. But in summary, I'm extremely happy with where we are.
Okay. And other questions we had coming in were relating to valuation and what kind of deal you might accept, and what how you might see this anything progressing with them.
Look, I think that's again a very difficult question to sort of speculate on. As I said at the outset in my opening comments, any deal that we do. We'll have to generate significant value from where we are today. And I firmly believe we're able to do that. We have a number of other avenues that we can go down. So I'm very comfortable with where we sit today valuation-wise. And we'll have to see what any potential suitor, and in particular Anglo, might come up with.
Okay, so all still very much live though.
Indeed.
And final question related to Anglo, or more corporate level, whether you have continued to have interest shown by other groups in the Zamsor assets.
Yes, I mean, the short answer is yes. There is significant interest, which is encouraging. Obviously, we have not been able to progress any of those expressions of interest any further because we are in an exclusivity arrangement with Anglo American, which we're, by the way, very, very happy with and pleased with. But I think it's comforting to know that this asset remains of interest. As you know, there's a significant emerging consensus that we are at the potential beginning of what could be an extended, prolonged super cycle. You've seen, whether it's iron ore or copper or any of the other industrial metals, reacting in terms of what's happening in China, which is very significant, and then the forecasts for the West coming out of lockdown towards the second half of this year. So, metals have got a really nice tailwind, and I suspect we will end up, the industry will end up much stronger later this year as we go through this. So it's a great position to be in where we are today.
Thank you, Nick. That's all the pre-submitted questions thus far.
Okay, Sasha, I'm happy if there are any questions online or whatever, if there are any submitted, to take them.
Okay, you should all have chat boxes which you can access, hopefully. If you can do that, then if you can see those, then please feel free to submit some questions. I've had a couple regarding the stock price, but I don't think that is you want to comment on those at the moment. One is, when does the exclusivity period with Anglo American end?
Well, the exclusivity period ends around the middle of the year. Remy, I don't recall the exact date.
I think it's July. It's July. I don't know the exact date as well. I need to check, but it's basically July 2021.
So it's a few more months.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Paul Smith, could we add any information on the levels of potential production from the plants?
It's a little bit premature, but Vasily, do you want to take that?
I mean, we're looking at basically a million ton a year operation. I mean, that's a sort of high level at this stage. But obviously, the optimum size of the plant will obviously be determined from the scoping studies. But that's more or less the level at which the sort of desktop study we did was centered around, was about that production profile.
Okay, thank you, Vasily. And one more question for you. Are there still pending drill results from the 2020 campaign, and what should we expect there?
No, they're not.
No, we've announced all of them, and
I think the last announcement was in December.
If you look at the RNS of, I think, the 9th of December, it summarizes all of the holes there. But suffice to say, we expect a very active program in the upcoming season. Our knowledge base has increased massively in terms of this huge sort of circa 800 square kilometers that we're drilling out piece by piece. But we're just scratching the surface here.
Thank you. And for another question is, what kind of deal would we ideally envisage, or what would we want if we were to transact on the assets?
Look, again, I think it's just not feasible to really speculate at this stage when we are in an exclusivity period with Anglo, and we will look at all the various options that are available to us that add the most value for our shareholders. So we really have to take it step by step, but we're very clear in our minds what we need to get out of this.
And from Shailen Radia, potentially for Remy, is the funded position out to 2022 dependent on the 5 million CASA payments?
No, it's not. So the cash balance we have today is enough, including the drilling program we would do this year and in 2022. It's enough of a cash balance. I can't give you official numbers because we would have to put it in an RNS before telling you, but it is well enough to cover all the way to the end of 2022. And so, again, as Nick said about CASA, we have to be asked for approval for whatever deal happens between Golden Square and another buyer, and that would add to the existing cash balance that we have. So that's the situation we're in.
And I think, Remy, it's fair to say this is the strongest cash position we've been in for many years, to be able to fund both 21 and 22 drilling campaign, and then some, is a great position. And I'm extremely pleased with, you know, the arrival of an institution, a significant player in the form of Hargreaves, and that's a great development for us. As you know, I've said for a number of years that, you know, our aim is really to bring in increasing number of institutions. We have a major Swedish pension fund on board, and now quite a significant UK player. So all of this is very good news, and I think underscores the transition that ARC, going back to valuations, the transition that ARC is going through now to being taken more seriously by other sort of larger players in the industry.
Thank you, Nick. There's a lot of repetitive questions here. Are there any possibilities to expand our licenses? There
are, and we are looking both in Zambia and elsewhere. Just this morning, Remy and I had a discussion with a party in one of our neighboring countries. We'll have to see where that gets to, but you know, absolutely, we are looking at expanding our footprint. As I say, I mean, this is the time. It's almost a bit of an asset grab time, given the heightened interest in the mining and metal sector, with the tailwind that we're having, as I say, with where copper prices and other metal prices are going. So it's a good time to be owning assets, because these are going to be increasingly valuable as we go forward.
Thank you, Nick. Question regarding offtakes. Maybe you could touch upon that. It's not the exact question, but I know that that's potentially part of the plans going forward with the production from the plants.
Look, we have had some initial discussions. Remy's been leading them. Remy, do you want to comment on that?
No, yeah, we've had discussion with one specific potential offtake partners, a physical trader. It's too early to give a timing about this because we need to finalize all the economics and the production numbers via the scoping study. So the dialogue is there. What matters to me is what is your net cost to the company, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, as long as you have you don't have any counterparty risk with a good counterparty, which is the case in that discussion. That's not so much the issue. The issue is basically what is the cheapest way of funding the project. If you have an offtake that has such a discount that you end up having a cheaper route by raising money as debt level at the asset level, which would be cheaper, then you're better off not doing an offtake. And the product is easy to sell at the gate if you have a finished product. So the discussion is there, but the way we look at it, it's all about the net cost of funding the capex effectively, whether it's via the offtake partnership or whether it's via asset level debt finance.
Sasha, I now can see some of these questions coming up. So if you're okay, I might just take them. So do you perceive there to be any political regulatory risk increasing in Zambia? I mean, there is, of course, always the chance that you know, political risk increases. I think as far as Zambia is concerned, I mean, you know, the sort of concerns that have been expressed over the last sort of year, I mean, those are out there, and I think those have been addressed in the, you know, by many different players. And I think you know, there's an election coming up later in August. It always gets a bit noisy in the sort of run up month or two before, but you know, everything has been very peaceful, and you know, at the end of the day, I'm very satisfied with the rule of law in Zambia that we operate under, and the court systems operate very well there, and so does the mining regulations, the cadastre, and so on. So no, I don't have any concern about any of that risk increasing. We've got that well under control. Then there was a question on further institutional interest? I mean, Remy's been handling our finances. Remy, do you want to touch on that?
No, there is. I mean, what we did with a raise we've done in January, we basically called one asset manager, and they came in with an order. So we were very keen on not having to basically go on a roadshow or do any of those. We want to make sure that the noise was close to zero effectively. But having said that, we've basically had approaches by other asset managers to get involved after we did the placing, but we feel at this stage it doesn't warrant diluting the capital yet. And so we've advised them that if they wanted to take a stake in the company, they were more than welcome to get in the market. But at this stage, there is no need to dilute further than we have done already. So there is interest. We do not plan on raising further money here. Definitely not here. And so people are more than welcome to buy in the market if they want to. But the interest is there.
Then there's a question on our recent changes to our board. This, I think, relates in the main to Caleb Malenga, who's joined us. What's the significance? Caleb is a first-rate, outstanding person and an extremely impressive businessman. He was responsible for bringing a number of big South African chains into Zambia, including Pep and Woolworths. Some of you will be familiar with those. He was very successful there, and is extremely experienced and extremely well connected in Zambia. There is another person that we are looking to take on board, another very high-profile, outstanding Zambian businessman. So I'm very pleased with our appointment here, and really strengthens our board and strengthens our presence locally in Zambia, which is key. So I couldn't imagine a better board of directors that we have currently. And as I say, we'll look to increase and strengthen that with probably one more appointment over the next few months. Then there's a question on cobalt. Can you remind us of the level of cobalt we're seeing today? I think, Vasily, I'm right in saying that the main cobalt presence that we saw was when we did the drilling at Calibre, and that was those cobalt that cobalt discovery was relatively significant, although I think the cobalt price was quite high relative to where it is today. But Vasily, do you want to just update on what we saw with cobalt at Calibre?
Yeah, so at Calibre that's right, Nick. So Calibre is where we had the cobalt, copper and cobalt, and in the oxide, I think the cobalt grade was around about 0.1%, and then in the sulfides was down to about 0.04%, so about half that. So we haven't encountered any more cobalt in any of the other targets we've tested to date. Well, I guess we have at Muswema, but the main one has been at Calibre. So yeah, at Muswema we've also had a bit of cobalt there as well.
Okay. All right. Sasha, I don't know if there are any other questions. Those are the only ones I could see coming through. All right, everybody. I think that sums up the call for today. I think, in summary, I couldn't imagine ever being in such an exciting position for ARC at the moment. We're sitting really at the crossroads here of an extremely attractive level of interest in the company, with an exclusivity agreement with Anglo American, one of the biggest companies in the world, who used to own these properties, with a very exciting drill program that we've just completed, with further exciting drilling program that we're about to commence in this year, and to boot a very exciting development in terms of constructing a small bleach plant at Chieza East, which I think is going to really be extremely significant for us in terms of the free cash flows that will keep will kick in from next year as we get this into production, as we've highlighted. So that is a fantastic development, and really, I think for me, the major takeout currently that we're telling you about. So this is a great position we're in. All, as I say, helped by very strong fundamentals for the industry in terms of underlying demand for copper, which is the bellwether industrial metal of the world. And as you've seen recently in the recent various experts' forecasts, it looks very much like as if we're at the beginning of what looks to be a prolonged strength in metals, and potentially the beginning of a super cycle, which I think bodes very well for us and others. Thank you very much for joining. And as soon as we have more information and data and updates, we will naturally release this to you, and as soon as we can have another investor call. But thank you very much, and thanks for your support.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.